I think we are back. I think we are good. And I want to believe you can hear me now. Okay, everyone, welcome again to this live stream session. And I'm so excited to be with you all this beautiful Sunday afternoon. I hope you are well. I hope you are doing great. I had a good time in church today. I hope you are having a best time of your weekend as well. So here we are today, and today is like an episode of Ask Me Anything. We are going to be discussing some issues that may come up with sewing and all of that. So before we go into the Ask Me Anything, when everyone can drop their questions and then I get to like answer them, we get to discuss together. Then we are going to be taking some few issues that has to do with sewing, some sewing issues, some sewing problems, and the possible solution. Okay, so if you're here, please drop an emoji. Let me know you are here. If you are here, please drop an emoji. Let me know you are here. Okay, so my name is Muturayo. If you are just seeing me on your screen for the first time, and I am a fashion tutor, I'm a fashion designer as well, and everything in between fashion, design, teaching, fabric beading, embellishment, and all of that. And that's what our channel is all about. If you are not new on the channel, I want to say welcome again. But if you are new on the channel, thanks for joining in. Please drop your thumbs up. I like to see that thumbs up. Drop the thumbs up. Hi, Da Silva. Hi, it's nice to have you here. Hi, Da Silva. Hello. So, please drop your thumbs up. Let me know you're with me. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know where you're joining me from. My name is Moturayo and I am talking to you from Nigeria. Okay, so let me know where you are actually joining from. So today we are going to be discussing some sewing issues and possible solutions. Reason why those sewing issue actually occurred in the first place is what we are going to be discussing. Okay. Okay, Ida Silva, I see you. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for joining in. All right, so first thing we're going to be discussing today with issues of is going to be fit, because I'm going to be diving into like five of this before we go into the Ask Me Anything. But by the way, if you are ready with your questions, you want to ask me anything, please drop your questions in the comments. Drop it in the comments. I'm going to see it. All right. So I can see a few of us are right here right now. Please give this live stream a thumbs up so that other people can be notified that we are live and they can also join. Thank you. So please give this live stream a thumbs up. Give this live stream a thumbs up for me. Just click on the thumbs up button that you see right there on your screen. Okay, so I've already said if you have your questions, please drop it. But meanwhile, before the questions starts coming in, we're going to be discussing some five key issues that um, sewing fashion design students usually face. So one of them is fit. The issue with fit, another could be I have everything written down here, so if you see me looking down, I'm just trying to look at my reference book. Okay, so I won't miss out on anything I've prepared to actually share with you today on this session. So one is the issue of fit, the issue of fabric, the issue of neatness, installing fasteners, and then time management. Okay, so these five we are going to be trashing. We are going to be see what's the possible cause of these problems and how do you actually navigate through them. Okay, so let's go straight right into it. The first thing is the issue of fit. If in garment construction, a lot of things go into it, all right, before the final product, which is like the garment, actually comes up. So in all of the steps and sequence that a garment is being constructed, the fit at the end of the day reflect everything that has been done to bring that garment or that piece to life. All right. So if after everything you realize that there's something wrong with the fit, that simply means that something is wrong with all other things that has happened before the garment actually came to life, like before it become like a piece. Okay, so if you are struggling with the fit, there are a number of things that could go wrong, and I'm going to start from the very beginning. It could be an issue with measurements. The measurement that you it is that become the measurement, like a vital part, is a vital step making anything that fits, like anything that fits anything at all, aside the dressmaking aspect, anything that will fit anything at all, you will need measurements, you will need precision. So when you do not get that precision right, and that is when the problems now manifest. Now that's where you now see the issue, that's where you now see the trouble. Okay, so now how do you take care of this measurement? The only thing is make sure that measurements are done properly and appropriately. Take your right measurements. For you to get precision of any piece, it has to be a measurement that has been taken properly. There's no way around it. If you actually realize that this garment does not fit, the first thing you need to look into is the measurement. What measurement did you actually take on the actual person? What measurement did you actually use to draft the pattern? Or what size of pattern did you buy? Because I know that we could buy patterns. We don't have to like make a pattern from scratch. Okay, for some of us that buy pattern, ensure that you are buying the right pattern. And if you have a particular pattern you want to grade, ensure that you are grading the pattern correctly. If you grade the pattern correctly, you will get the fit correctly. But when something happens along the line, when you are grading the pattern, maybe you didn't consider the neckline, you didn't consider the armhole, something is going to eventually happen to the garment when it's finished. Okay, so take the correct measurements, look into your patterns, take the measurement of every area, because this is what influences your that's the first step to success in anything, in any garment that you're trying to create. All right, so make sure measurements are taken correctly, and when they are transferred on pattern, you want to make sure that you have actually transferred everything correctly. When you are using a pattern that you are grading up or down, you want to make sure that you actually did your grading correctly. So these are the things that you actually need to look into. Make sure you have taken the measurements correctly. Make sure that the pattern is actually correct. Another thing could be the fabric. You have to know fabric budgeting and fabric management. So if, for example, on the fabric you actually maybe add a 1 centimeter or 1 inch seam allowance, and then you just do not have a good knowledge of fabric, you need to understand that some fabric react with heat. Sometimes they shrink, sometimes they expand. So a number of things go into your choice of fabric. Now let's take, for example, your choice of fabric is one that shrinks under heat. By the time you are pressing and by the time you are ironing and you are releasing heat over them, you realize that these garments tend to shrink, even though you have actually taken your seam allowance which you added from the beginning. If you took it out, you will realize that the garment will seem to be a little bit tight because it has already shrink. Okay, so you need to have an understanding of the fabric that you are working on right now. fabrics like brocade and all of those things, they shrink when they are under heat. So you need to understand that if the fabric shrinks, you need to actually take precaution. You also, the precautions could be you press or you iron before you cut the pattern. The precautions could be you add a little bit of extra seam allowance, all right, so that that can actually take care of the shrinkage by the time it eventually happens. How do you know a fabric that shrink? Even if you are getting the fabric for the first time in the market, it does not come under the fabrics that you know that shrink. You could actually do like an iron test. Just release the heat of your iron, press it over it, just a sample. Just take a piece of sample, cut out a piece of sample from the entire bulk of the fabric and try to press it. You will see the way it reacts under the heat, all right? And then for those that are also doing maybe fabric painting and all of that, take a patch of the fabric. If you are into fabric painting, take a patch of the fabric as well to test what the paint or the heat react like on the actual fabric before you now go ahead to cut your pattern and do every other thing that is involved. Okay, so we've covered fabric behavior, we've covered fabric budgeting and all of that. So another thing with fabric behavior, you also need to know the lengthwise grain, the crosswise grain. The fabric grain is like another aspect that you need to be conversant with. You cannot go ahead to cut a pattern on a lengthwise grain, then you cut the other pair on a crosswise grain. By the time you put all of these pieces together, they will behave differently. They will behave differently. And that's why by the time you now have having coupled all of the pieces together, you realize that a particular area of the garment is just looking some type of way. It just doesn't, it's just not coming out right. Meanwhile, the other part is just coming out perfectly. That can actually be linked to fabric grain. So when you are cutting out your pattern, when you are cutting out all your pieces, ensure that you are following the appropriate